Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Miss A and I will be using this channel to document my teacher training progress and hopefully beyond. It's the day before I begin my teacher training. I have chosen to do the university route, so I'll be doing a 10-month course called a postgraduate certificate in education.
Many months later.
Hello and welcome to my channel. I have wanted to document my PGCE journey for a while, but actually the course was like really intense. Finished it a few days ago, and so I just wanted to kind of document how the past 9 months has been for me. And I hope that it would help those of you who are considering whether to go into teaching or whether to do the PGCE route, just to kind of let you know what I went through. Hopefully use this video to help you make a decision on whether you think it's the right route for you. So I decided to go through the PGCE route rather than like Schools Direct or Teach First. Just from what I'd heard about it compared to other routes, I just thought it was like the best one for me. And I liked the fact that you could go to, like you were like going to uni, because I just love the whole student experience, so I like that. Yeah, just like when you apply for your undergraduate, you apply for your PGCE through UCAS, because you're applying directly to the unis. I think you have 3 choices of unis that you can apply to. So yeah, I guess it just kind of depends like what you're after for your PGCE year. And also I think one thing to consider is where the schools that you want to teach, like how far you want to like travel, because unis have links with different schools. So for example, if you went to like UCL, so the Institute of Education, or like another uni more like central to London, then they would likely put you in placements that are schools that are in a city London. Whereas if you go to like a uni on the outskirts, maybe like St Mary's or something, then you would get placed in schools that surround the uni, because they have links with the schools. So I think that's something to take into consideration. So think about the schools that you want to work at. Maybe you want to go somewhere that's schools that are slightly closer to where you live, because you don't want to travel that much. Or I don't know, maybe you want to locate to a different area after you finish your PGCE, so maybe it might be worth going to a uni that has links with schools that are in that area. I think it's something worth considering, because what can happen sometimes is that the school that you do your placement in ends up offering you a job if they have a vacancy. So yeah, really think about the schools that you want to work in, and maybe that can help you determine the uni that you want to go to. So that's a tip. So my year was the last year that you had to do a skills test for. So you had to do the maths and the English skills tests, but there's no point me even going into all of that now, because you guys won't have to do that. Lucky you. Yeah, so you apply for UCAS and then you get called for an interview. And in my interview, we had to do a presentation, so you had to teach. So I think they gave you like 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and you taught for like 10 minutes to all the other people who had been interviewed as well. And then I had a maths test, which they did not tell me about. They didn't tell me I was going to have a maths test, because my subjects that I picked to do my PGCE in is secondary school maths. So you had some time to do that. I had to do a written assessment as well. And then I had a brief interview. And my interview was actually really chilled. It was just about my experience and, you know, why you want to go into teaching, you know, all the things that you would expect to have in an interview. So I think for my interview, I knew on the day, like probably in the interview, that I had got a place at that uni. And that was it. It was really kind of straightforward. Actually, I know you tend to feel like quite nervous, but at the same time, you have to remember they want students as well. So it's an opportunity for you to decide whether it's the right uni for you, and they're trying to impress you just as much as you're probably trying to impress them as well. I got my acceptance at my university, and then I started the 2nd week of September, and so we had, I think, about 3 weeks in university, where it was just kind of orientation, and they told us about the structure of the course. You'd have 2 essays to do that are master's level. I think they're worth like 60 credits, and that is your PGCE, your postgraduate certificate in education. And then we'd have our school experience, and our school experience will go towards our QTS. So if everything went well with your school experience, and then at the end you'd get your QTS, which is qualified teacher status. And you definitely need a qualified teacher status to work in schools in England. PGCE is good because it's internationally recognized, and so you can, if you wanted to travel and work abroad, then it's really good to have your PGCE. So yeah, I definitely wanted to get a PGCE for that reason, because I was considering maybe working abroad rather than just having a QTS. My uni asked you to give like a list of schools that you might have relationships with already. Maybe you've done some work experience, and maybe you have some experience working in schools already. So they asked all of us for a list of schools that we would consider kind of working with, that we had links with already. I knew the type of school that I wanted to work in. I knew that I wanted to work in an inner city London school. And so I wanted my placements to be inner city London schools. I was very clear on that. I knew them from the start. My first placement wasn't inner city London, and I wasn't happy about that, because I know that your placements, you can get jobs from the schools that you do your placements in. And so that's why I said before, like, that's something worth considering when you are looking at universities, because they can offer you a job if they like you, which I think is kind of ideal. I had a really good tutor, and yeah, he was able to change my placement so that I did work in an inner city London school, and I was so happy. Like, it's so good to know like what you want, and to know like why you want it, because I'm just so happy that he was able to do that for me. I was so grateful that he was able to kind of change my placement to a school that kind of worked for me, and it was just easier to get to work as well, get to my placement, because of the location of the school. Yeah, I had a very good first placement. I had a really good mentor, and I think your mentor can kind of make or break your experience, to be honest. I think that having a good mentor is kind of priceless in your PGCE experience. Like, my first mentor, she taught me so much, and she was really good with giving feedback. She was really encouraging and very kind of direct. I also just liked her style of teaching as well, and I thought she was a very like effective teacher. And so just being able to observe her like in classes, and just having someone to kind of model practice off of, even though like as a practitioner you will learn that you will have your own style anyway, but there are things that you can pick up from people that are really effective. And she was very experienced, and she had a lot of things that she was able to kind of teach me. I had school experience before, so there were things that I already kind of had in my kind of teacher toolbox that I knew I was going to use anyway during my school placement. But having someone who's also like top notch as well, I think really helps. Great mentor, type of school that I would want to work in, like right up my street, inner city London, like comprehensive, diverse. That was me. So I was very happy with that. And then my second placement was kind of the opposite. It was a comprehensive school. It was outer London though, and I really didn't want to work out. I didn't want to work out of London at all. And yeah, sometimes you think that if you work in London, there's this thing you kind of assume, or maybe I've heard, that the behaviour is more challenging, but it's not. I don't think it's true. I think it's such a generalisation. I would say the school that my second placement, I found the behaviour more challenging. Yeah, I think it's like kind of like a myth that inner city London school in terms of behaviour is more challenging than, outside of London. that wasn't my experience, and I've spoken to a few teachers and that's not necessarily the case. But it gave me an opportunity to really improve on that aspect of teaching. And yeah, I just had to think of different ways to kind of tackle it. And I think in your career you'll probably have classes that will be more challenging than others, so you're not ever gonna have, I don't think, maybe some people do, like a perfect career with like perfectly behaved kids all the time. So it was good to have that experience. So my second placement started in, I think, the end of January, and it lasted until, I think, towards the end of March. Traditionally for my uni, your second placement is supposed to be your longest placement, but for me it wasn't, because of Corona, right? And so the coronavirus and the way it affected like everything cut short my school placement. And so I didn't have that full kind of PGCE experience where you'd be in school until like June. Mine was cut short to March. And so really I probably had like 10 weeks or kind of less than 10 weeks in both of my placements. So for like 3 months I haven't like been teaching, and yeah, so it's just been a very unique year for those of us who did our PGCE in 2019 to 2020. As well as your school placements, which I talked about briefly, you also have to do the essays as well. So the first essay was due, for my uni, was due in January. I think it was like January the 5th, so like right after Christmas holiday, we had to hand in our essay, and it was based on being a reflective practitioner. So the structure for us was that we would go into uni every Friday and spend the whole day there, and we'd have lectures and seminars. Our second essay was on practice, policy, and something else. It was like PPP. Something, professionalism. From when we started our second placement to, it's supposed to be till actually Easter, was supposed to be in uni every Friday, again lectures and seminars. So our first essay was, I think it was 2,000 words. It was hard because I had never really done essay writing before. It was all very new, and I felt as if it was really philosophical. I'm not used to writing in that way. I'm not used to writing at all, really. So I found that hard, and I think most people who did maths on my course, we didn't really find it that easy. People always say as long as you can get 50%, that's what you need for a pass on an essay. You know, if you only want to do a PGCE, if you don't want to do like a master's in education, then just passing your essays is fine. But if you if you're considering doing some type of master's in education, then you would want to make sure that you're getting those high grades on your essay. The second essay we did was 3,000 words, and then you had like a 1,000 appendix. I dreaded doing the essays personally. It was interesting to read the research, it was really interesting, but the essays, for me anyway, at my uni, I found like they were so broad, it was really difficult to know whether you were on track, like whether you were writing the right things, especially if you don't have experience writing critically. You can feel quite lost doing them. Because like I said, coronavirus happened, and that meant that my second placement was cut short. Instead of doing the last term of the school experience, we had to do a few written activities, which was supposed to be in a replacement of our school experience. So they would give us scenarios, and we would have to kind of like write, what would you do? Or they give you a case study, what would you do with this student who has these issues or whatever. How would you handle that? And it had to be like based on research. Because at the end of the day, you have to prove that you can meet the 8 teaching standards, and so those activities instead of the school placement were put in place so that we could kind of prove that we achieved those 8 teaching standards. And that was it. So it was still intense, even though coronavirus happened and that cut our school placement short. It was still quite intense because I don't know about how coronavirus affected you, but I was actually sick, and so that kind of affected how I was able to engage with the work, you know, with having symptoms and everything. So this is my first video on my PGCE experience. I will do more videos in the future, which, you know, I'm going to go into detail about specific parts of the PGCE, and I'm going to be starting my NQT year, my newly qualified teacher year as well, because I didn't really find a lot of videos on YouTube, or not enough anyway, on YouTube about your newly qualified teacher year in the UK. I would have found it helpful to have as much information as possible, so I will be sharing that with you guys as well. But if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section and I will answer any questions that you have. If there's anything in particular that you want me to talk more about in regards to my PGCE experience, then let me know and I'll be more than happy to do that. And yeah, I hope you are considering teaching, because it is a really rewarding career to have. And thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. I hope it's going to be really challenging, but also really excited. So welcome.